Hi everyone, Scorpion Bytes here, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're going to learn about Java if statements. As usual, the first part of the video is going to be theoretical, and in the last part of the video, we're going to code some examples. Alright, so first let's see what an if statement is. An if statement enables our code to evaluate a condition and execute certain blocks of code based on whether that condition is true or false. Essentially, it is like asking a question in our code and taking different actions depending on the answer. As you can see here, there are different variations of if statements that we can use in Java. We'll start with the basic if statement, then we'll move on to if-else statements, and finally we'll cover if-else statements. Each type allows us to handle more and more complex decision-making scenarios in our code. Let's dive in and see how each one works. Good, so now let's have a look at the first case, a basic if statement. First, we have the code before the if that will get executed as usual. Then we have the if statement itself. Between two braces, we'll have a condition. If this condition is true, then all the code inside the if block will be executed. If the condition is false, this code right here will be skipped. When I say the code inside the if block, I mean the code between the opening curly bracket and the ending curly bracket. After the if statement, we can have other code that will get executed as usual. Good, so now let's have a look at the second case, an if-else statement. As usual, we have the code before the if that will be executed as normal. And then we have the if statement, with a condition between the brackets. If the condition is true, then this code inside if will be executed, and the code inside else will be skipped. On the other hand, if the condition is false, then the code inside else block will be executed, and the code inside if, right here, will be skipped. So, the value of the condition decides which code block will be executed. If the condition is true, we will execute this code block and we will skip this one. On the other hand, if the condition is false, we will skip this part of the code and we will execute only this part. Finally, let's have a look at this case here. As usual, we have the code before if, which will get executed as normal. Then we have the if statement with first condition. In case condition 1 is true, we'll execute the code inside if block and we'll skip everything else on the else block. Basically, we will jump to the end and we'll execute this code here after the if-else block. On the other hand, if condition 1 is false, this block right here will be skipped and we'll evaluate condition 2. If condition 2 is true, then the code right here will be executed and the else branch will be skipped. So after the code right here will be executed, we will jump at the end and execute the code after if-else block. And finally, if the condition 2 is also false, this code block will also be skipped and we will only execute this code right here, inside the last else block. Of course, after the code here will be executed, we will also execute the code after if-else block as usual. As a note here, you can have as many else if blocks as you want. So you can have if condition 1, else if condition 2, else if condition 3, and so on, and finally the final else block. Awesome, now that we have just finished this part, please consider giving a like to this video if you found the information useful. Also, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, hit that subscribe button and share this video with your coding buddies. Alright, enough with the promotion, now let's move on to the next part. Good, so now let's see some examples. Here we have the basic structure of a Java program, so now let's go add our first if statement. First, I will declare a variable called number, and I will assign the value 80 to it. Now let's write our if statement. So I will say if number is greater than 50, I will print the message the number is greater than 50. Now let's also add some code before and after the if statement. Now let's run the program and see the output. So as you can see, the code before if is executed as usual, Then, since number is equal to 80, the condition number is greater than 50 is true, so the code inside if is executed. As you can see, the message is printed in the console, and then the code after if is executed as normal. As you can see, code after if is printed in the console. Now let's add our else statement. So since the code inside else will only be executed when the condition is false, I will print the message the number is less than or equal to 50. Now let's quickly run the program as it is to see that the else branch is skipped. So as you can see, since the condition is true, the code inside else is not executed and the message is not printed. Now let's change the value of number and make it less than 50, so let's say 45. Now let's run the program again. So as you can see, this time, since number is greater than 50 is false because number is 45, the code inside if is skipped and the message is not printed in the console. But the code inside else is executed and the message is printed to the console. The code before and after the if statement is executed as usual. Now let's go add our else if block. So I will say else if number is equal to 50. Let's print a corresponding message. Now let's also adjust the message on the else branch. Now let's make the number equal to 50 and run the program. So as you can see, the code before and after if is executed as usual. And from the if else structure, only the message the number is equal to 50 is printed. So if we look at the code, number is greater than 50 is false because number is exactly 50. So the code inside here gets skipped. Then number equal to 50 is true. So the code inside here gets executed. And since this condition is true, the code inside else will be skipped. Please pay attention to the following scenario. When we have an if-else structure like this one here, the conditions are evaluated from top towards the bottom. So that means that when we reach the first true condition, we execute the code inside its corresponding block, and then we skip everything else to the end of the if structure. So let's modify a bit this example to illustrate this scenario. Let's say I will change this condition and put it like number is greater than 40. Now let's run the program and see what happens. So as you can see, the message that gets printed is the number is greater than 50. So what happens here? The number is equal to 50. When we reach our if structure, we evaluate the first condition, number is greater than 40. This condition is true because 50 is greater than 40. So the code in this block gets executed and the message is printed in the console. Now, because this condition is true, everything else is skipped. So even if the condition number is equal to 50 is true, it doesn't even get evaluated. Because after we execute the code inside the if block with the first true condition, we jump outside the if structure and execute whatever is here. So whatever is under else will not even get evaluated. That's why this message is not printed even if the condition itself is true. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like and subscribe. It will help me a lot. And of course, if you have any questions or suggestions, drop a comment below. With that being said, keep learning and I'll see you next time.